Hey everyone! Today I'm really excited to talk about doing a no spend month. I am going to be doing one October 1st, and so there are several reasons for this video. Number one, if you want to join me, I'm putting this up early enough that you're going to have enough time to, do some prep work and organization. So I would love that. If you want to join me, please do. Number two, I've seen a lot of videos out there and I love watching them. I learned something from everybody. But I don't see a lot of how to do a no spend, the setup and the preparation that needs to go into it. There is some thought that needs to go into it. I'm not going to lie, there is. As well as, we are planner nerd people. So how does that translate into our keeping track and organizing it and keeping motivated in our planners? So that's the purpose, the purpose is really of this video. So number one is, what is a no spend month? This is up for interpretation. If you've watched any of my other videos by now, you know that I've done the Dave Ramsey program. We're on baby step 6. So I've been doing this a long time, and also just with my personality, I'm just very type A, logical, let's slay this dragon kind of a person. That's just where I'm at. So no spend really works well for me, and I love it. So for me, no spend literally means you're not spending any money for the month. And I will clarify that more as I get to my budget. But in a nutshell, that just means absolute necessities, which again is up for interpretation. But for us, it's bills and, of course, and then gas for work, because obviously you need your job or you will have no income. That would be a huge issue. I have no shame in telling you that I always go to the store on September 30th. The point of the no spend is no spending for 1 month. So the entire month of October, there will be no spending, but September 30th is okay, as well as November 1st. That's how my brain works. That's how I've done it in the past, and we've been successful at it. So I'm showing you, this is my plum paper planner. I'm showing you the year at a glance spread because they've got a great one, number one. And number two is the very first step to do a no spend month, if you are choosing to do that, is to pick your month, which may seem like a no-brainer, but I think that a lot of people just kind of jump into it, and that's fine. If you want to do that and whatever, that doesn't work for me. I got to have some planning going on. So to pick your month, you just kind of look through the months. So from my experience, if there's a birthday in a month, that's not going to work for my family. I have tried to be the rock star mom and have everything wrapped and the party planned and everything before the month begins and do a no spend. But invariably, my children or child will want to go out to dinner, or they change their mind on a present or something like that. So I've just had to not do it in a birthday month. Or a big holiday or something like that. 4th of July is not going to work for us because that's, big family barbecue, fireworks time. So that leaves us, April and September would be good, except for that's gardening. April is full throttle, pedal to the metal, get the garden in, where we spend our entire gardening envelope sinking fund. And then September is the back end of that, where we need food preservation kind of things like canning jars and such, as well as Hobonichi comes out with their new line on September 1st. So that would just be stupid, right, for me to do September. For us, that leaves January, October, and November. And then for some reason, we've just always chosen October. November, you kind of start spending some money for Christmas and things like that. Anyway, that's just kind of the thought process I'm sharing with you for my family, so you can kind of know how to go through it for your own. Just kind of think through some things. So October is when we've done it. I've kind of lost track on how many times we've done it now, but it's been very successful in the past. I will show you my old planner, how I have tracked that, etc. But October is when we're doing it. So after you decide on your month, then if your family is not part of that process, you need to get your family on board, specifically your spouse, if you have one. And really that's just for, the teamwork factor. When one of you is weak, the other one can be strong, and vice versa. it's really hard. I'm not going to lie. After doing this as many times as I have done it, it's still difficult. And so I think it's just great to have your spouse on board, just, that you're choosing to do a hard thing together. We all have hard things that are going on in our lives that we have to deal with, but this is something you choose to do. And I don't know, from our experience, it's been a really great one. I don't want to get too mushy, but I feel like in October is the time that my husband and I always have our best marriage time, whatever you want to call it, just because we're really focused and we're doing something together, and it's just really strengthened our marriage. The second or the third thing, however you want to look at this, is to inventory your resources. And that's mainly going to be your pantry and your freezer. That's probably the number one thing people are worried about, because they're always like, I got to eat. Well, of course you have to eat. That's not what we're talking about. But use your resources, what you have, as well as your linen closet, your hygiene and personal items, things like that, because of course you don't want to get in the middle of the month and there's no toilet paper, okay? No bueno. So just those kinds of things, just a little bit of thought. And I'll get into the food. I'll probably end up doing a separate video on the food because that's such a big one. I think it warrants a separate video. I will share my lists and my menu and things like that, how I have set it up. And I will probably end up doing that in, let me think, either the end of next week, end of September, but definitely by the 1st of October, I will have that up for you. So just inventory what you have and what you need to buy, and only buy needs. And then of course you need to plan alternate activities, watch movies that you own, board games, like nature stuff, just, your typical stuff like that. For me, a no spend month really just means stop consumer spending. Just stop. My husband, being in IT, if I have a computer problem, his answer, always, number one, reboot it, reboot it, reboot it. And I feel like the no spend month is the equivalent of that. Sometimes we just need to take a step back, refocus, reboot it, because even after all these years, I still find bad spending habits creeping back into my life. I am definitely not perfect. I can budget. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, but I'm a human being and I'm weak and I still spend things that I shouldn't. And so I think it's just a really great way. This no spend is a really great way to just be like, you know what? I don't need this kind of stuff. I can live without a lot that I thought that I had to have. You really don't. And so there's a lot of really great lessons that are coming out of this. And then just to have a goal. Obviously, it's easier to do a hard thing when you have an end goal in mind. So decide what you're going to do with your saved money. If you're doing the Dave Ramsey system, it's kind of a no-brainer that you would put it towards whatever baby step that you're on. I definitely want to do that this year, but there are a couple other things that I would like to talk to my husband about it. I've mentioned in Mr. Technology video that he's out of town for quite a while, so that's something I just want to talk to him in person, so I'll wait till he gets back into town before I nail that down. But I will share that with you at least at the very end of our no spend month. And then let me get this one out of the way, and then I will show you my Erin Condren, and I will show you how I did it last year. So mine's in 18 months. So I have mentioned I like to do my own challenges. I like to challenge myself for each month. So here's some of the ones. As you can tell when I stopped using it, but October of last year, that's our no spend. And I did have these labeled, but I took them off just because I felt like it. As you can see, we were perfect, which this is a beautiful site for me. So a couple things. I think this is a great way to track, is on whatever planner that you're in. The year at a glance with monthly like this is a great way to track it, in my opinion. There are stickers out there, as well as project life cards and other things that you can do whatever you feel like, but I like to use what I have, and so I feel like every planner has one of this. And you get to see all of your challenges if you are consistent with your planner and your months, to see it all, like even just these 4 months. I love to look at this. The other thing I will say with the no spend is, this is my experience, so I'm just going to share that with you. So the first week, I'm always super excited, really gung-ho and strong. The second week is when it starts to sink in, like, okay, this is getting hard. The second weekend, and I don't know what it is, you guys, but it's the second weekend. That's when I hit the wall. That's always when I'm at my weakest point. I remember, even though these have stars right here, I remember how difficult these stars for this weekend were to put on there. And as you can see on this one, I broke on that day. So I think that's just some valuable information to know. So now when I go into challenges, I always know that if I can get through this second weekend, I'm golden. Like, even though I'm not completely halfway through, I know that I'm pretty much home free. It's just that period right there, that second weekend where I'm just so weak. So that's just something I've learned and what I have done with tracking it in my planner. Let me go to last year and I will show you here. So I just started off with these stickers. I will link these where I got these from. It's a blog that she does. I think it's Living Well, Spending Less, and she has a 31-day spending zero challenge. And I just, shrunk these down into stickers. So here's the beginning of it. I just put one on each week. As you can see right here, a little bit more, let me bend that back, a little bit more prep work here. So that I just put a note, defrost and inventory my large freezer, because I'd already done my pantry and my smaller freezer on that. So, and then this obviously just from last year, these are just some notes, but 31 days, get ready for that, and savings. So that's the first day of October. And then she has, I don't know what you want to call them. I think they're just focuses or some activities. So what I was doing is I put a green dot on the sticker for just to mark off the day, because I had these put in my planner. I would check off if I did the activity for the day. And then as you see, when I got to the second week, I was just checking, or I wasn't checking everything off, but I was marking that the day had passed. And then the challenges, or whatever you want to call them, started to not really apply to me. So that was why there's an X there. But anyway, here's a couple, counting my coins and things like that. So there's just financial stuff. So I was tracking that. Here are more weeks. And then here's the last of the week. So here is my treasure chest from last year. End of no spend. Woohoo! That was a really fun day. And you know what? I know I went to the 31st. I think I had marked Halloween with all these other stickers, which is why it's on the 30th, but I did absolutely go to the 31st. So there you go. That's how I marked it last year. Let me talk about this year. So this year, like I said, all I've done is my little piggy, one of my piggy sticky notes, and I've just written some things down. Let's see if this will focus a little bit better, but I've just written some things down. As you can see, I've done one more, so I can check that off, but I've only done half because I haven't done my inventories yet for my freezer and pantry, so of course I can't do my menu yet. And I still have 10 days, so I'm not, overly concerned about that. I will definitely get that done. And I'm also doing a couple other challenges, which I don't think I mentioned that. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not this overachiever, but they do complement and correspond with this challenge. So I'm doing, well, first before I get off track, let me show you this year. I have just put the smaller stickers in there. So right here, I'm in my traveler's notebook. So I just put those smaller stickers in there and just hand wrote it in what day that I'm on. So these are the last 2 weeks right there. So that's how I'm doing it this year. Oh, and one more thing. I did put a sticker on the monthly. So just to have some friendly reminders out there. And I will put in some right here. Those are the bigger stickers that I put in my Erin Condren. So I will put in some Dave Ramsey motivational stickers when I get to each week, but I haven't done that yet because that's something that will help me keep motivated, if that makes sense. I could put them in beforehand, but I think I'm just going to need that. So that's a couple other things, which I will. I'm not sure how I'm going to update you because I know myself and done this enough that I know that I'm not going to cheat. So I don't want to just, have a video on, hey, I didn't spend anything, but I will maybe tack on to one of my other videos, just kind of a, 30-second update or something like that. And then I think at the very end, I will kind of do the wrap up with, the menu right here and how, what we're going to use or how we're going to put our savings, apply that towards our baby step 6 or whatever. Like I said, I want to talk to my husband before I commit to some things, but I've shown you this before and I will link my menu video below as well. So with the food, like I said, just inventory your pantry and your freezer, which is kind of how I come up with the month at a glance. If you are not in the position where I'm at that have, the full pantry and the freezer, that's totally fine. I think you can still do the no spend and keep with the spirit of the no spend because as I talked about, food, absolutely, yes, you have to eat, but you don't have to go to the grocery store and spend, half your money on chips and cookies and junk food. So that's what I would do. If you have the money to just go for the entire month, I would recommend doing that. If you can only do it every paycheck, fine. I would try to avoid for the no spend month going every week because that's the more times you go to the grocery store, the more times you're tempted and the more opportunities you have to spend more money. That's just my experience. But so that's how I come up with the menu. Again, I will do a separate video on that. But for the most part, your fresh fruits and vegetables are going to run out the first week, and then you're going to have to go back to your resources. I will be upfront and say this about how we're doing it this year. Last year, we literally spent nothing, like absolutely nothing. And I was totally fine with it, even though it was difficult. I like doing those kinds of hard things, just see if I can do it. My husband, on the other hand, not so thrilled. He agreed and is completely on board this year again, but his caveat is towards the end, can I please, or you, because I control 95% of the menu and the grocery money. He's like, can you please just go to the grocery store and buy me some grapes? So I'm like, okay, yes, I can do that. So I've had to loosen up just a little bit so he can be on board with me. And the man works hard. He deserves some grapes or an apple or some fresh fruit is really his point. He wants some fresh fruit and vegetables. So I still want to do a true no spend, but if I do any spending, that's what I'm going to be spending on is just a few dollars at the grocery store for him. And let me see if there's anything else I need to show you in this before I put it away. I think that's it. So the menu, the yearly and the weekly, what I did last year. And then let me show you my budget for this year, which I will talk about. Which is why one of the reasons I'm doing a separate video on the food, because this video is getting a little bit long. Okay, so you have seen all this. This is my budgeting section. There's my little sticky note. So you've seen this. This is the paycheck that we're in now. And of course, we've got another week, so I can't do final totals on my spent column or what I have remainder in my envelope. For me, what I talked about with, having my freezer and my pantry stocked, I also have, and this is what I've talked about before, is I need to tweak my grocery budget because here I am with a week or a little bit less than a week to go, and I still have $165 in my grocery envelope. There's no way I am going to be spending that. Just no way. I need to update that a little bit. I'm showing you that because here is my rudimentary setup for my September 25th paycheck. Yes, September 25th is before October, but the point is a month's worth of no spending. And because I have so much left over in my grocery budget, I know I'm going to spend zero. If you need to spend some money on your groceries, fine. Of course, like I said, food's a necessity. But you don't have to do your normal grocery budgeting. Just find some ways to somehow lower your grocery bills and to go back to basics and eat just food that will keep you alive. Does that make sense? That's just how I would do it. Like I said, that's just my logical type A brain. So that's why I will not be getting any grocery money, even though September 25th is before October 1st. With this $165, I'm not even going to spend all of that. So that's just going to be more money for me to save. So back to what I was talking about with the no spending. It's really what we're focusing on, in my opinion, is that consumer spending, just to stop spending money on things you don't need and to figure out that you can really do without a lot of products that you think you can't live without. You really can. So for my September 25th budget, groceries, personal, office supplies, which, oh, you guys know that's going to be my weakness. Office supplies, household, clothes, and marriage are going to be my budgeting categories that will literally get zero money. They will not be funded for this paycheck as well as the other paycheck in October. You can see I don't really I don't do a lot of setting up beforehand for my budgets, my paychecks. If you're wondering what these are, yes, I guess technically you could say I have to spend money. The reason for that is back to Dave Ramsey, the sinking funds. This right here is not consumer spending. This is funding my sinking funds. So the health, that is a necessity for me, unfortunately, which is what I've talked about. I cannot do without some things for my health. So I have to fund that. Savings, of course, I will be putting money in savings. Gifts, yes, that's technically consumer spending, except for I'm just putting that into savings. For Christmas, as Dave says, Christmas is not an emergency, but we do have to have money, so I still need to put money in there so we have enough when Christmas rolls around. Same thing with the cruise. Car, again, that's right up there with your groceries. You've got to have gas to get to your job, so yes, you have to put some money in there as well. Pet, I'm a responsible pet owner. I love my dog. He needs some medicine and food, so I will be funding that as well. And the gardening. I've got to have money in my envelope when April rolls around. So those are the differences between the money that I will actually be putting into a fund and the ones that I can do without. And that's it. So hopefully that makes sense. And then this normally would be my spending tracker section. I've already put my stickers there, and I will put the same thing over here. But as you can see, there's going to be no consumer spending going on. And so that's why those are there. And of course my treasure chest, because hopefully our savings will just keep going up and up and up. So that's my setup with my planners and my budgeting section. So I hope that helps you a little bit on getting prepared for a no spend month. Like I said, I will be doing some periodic videos within the month just to give you an idea and to keep you abreast of the things that I am doing and how it's working out for me. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.